Lana, we're live. No
Oh,
countdown, no nothing.
oh, shoot. Hey,
And we're on
everybody.
opposite sides here.
Hi.
What's happening?
Nothing. Just had my workout. So I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a week ago today, you and I are on together.
Yeah.
And we had I don't know, maybe a pre celebration. Um did not work out the way that we thought it would. I certainly am not going to play our predictions from the week before
Hell no.
because those did not work out well. But I know you were a little hesitant to call it. I was very cocky about it, about what was going to happen, and I
Yeah.
was certainly misled. And there's a million different reasons as to why, what, all that bullshit. But here we are. But Lana, I want you, if you don't mind,
Sure.
I want you to kind of explain if to the viewers. So Lana and I spoke on the phone, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, well, first of all, I'm crushed. I feel fucking terrible about this, and I'm sure Lana's crushed. I sent her a message, and we talked on the phone, and she was like, "Oh, I'm fine." I'm like, "Wait, hold on, wait. How does it? What do you mean you're fine? Don't tell me you're fine because I'm not fine. How the fuck are you fine, and I'm not fine?" But Lana, do you want to explain to everybody why you're fine?
I don't know. I was just literally okay. I maybe because 2016 was so tough and like getting through that, like I don't know, we got through it. I can't even explain it. I just don't. It happened. What are we gonna do about it,
Well,
right?
you can't do anything about it.
Exactly.
That's for sure.
Well, the thing that we do about it is we regroup and we live to fight again. We're here another day. Let's get moving. All of the toxic and the whining and the crying and the defecting from Twitter, like that is what's making me anxious and want to say fuck it to everyone. It's not the loss because we'll fucking get through that. Like we will just fucking get through that. Trump is not going to walk into that White House and the fucking sky is not going to turn black and like it's not going to be doomsday, although it will feel like that. I'm not a clown, but it's just not going to be like that. It's not going to be every day of our lives. We're not going to be in misery. We are going to have bright spots. There are going to be people in our lives that get married, who graduate college, who graduate high school, who have that. Like there are going to be some good things. Like I just can't do that thing anymore. It's driving me crazy, especially with my group. Like that,
Yeah, yeah.
I can't even tell you how bad it is. Every fucking morning, I go in to our Dems United chat. That's where we're supposed to strategize.
Dems United, by the way, is a chat that she has. That it's a group that she has on Twitter.
Right. And we have a chat group that we strategize. So we go in there to strategize. Now it's just like a bitch fest. And I can't, and it's hard because me, the black woman, right? Because this is what this really is. It's like, for some reason, black women have a different way of how we deal with the things, right? It's just, we take the weight on our shoulders and we just carry it all. So I have to go in there, although, they don't see me, but I have to act like, hey, what's going on? Oh, we got this, rise and grind, do all that. And it's just like, oh my God, I don't know if I could do this anymore. I need another week. I don't know what to tweet about. I'm going to Blue Sky. Anyone going with me? I'm going to we're trying to run a group, stabilize and support the Democrats that are on this platform. Because there are Jasmine Crockett, Eric Swalwell, like Nancy, all of our lawmakers are on this platform. Why the fuck would we be leaving to go to an echo chamber to talk to each other? Because that's all we'll be doing. It's just like,
right. And there's really no progress. Of course, at the same time, I mean, what progress is there talking to the brain dead MAGA people, and most of the time you're really talking to some sort of bot, or you're talking to, you're arguing with an artificial person that's talking to you on
all
Twitter.
the time. And at least you can, at least if you see disinformation, you can combat that disinformation. And it doesn't matter if you're impacting one person or 1,000 people. Like, you put that opposing thing there, right? You're putting facts there. There is pushback, even if it's not a MAGA, it could be an independent, it could be a libertarian. Like, you know what I mean? You have a mixture. I'm not getting any of that on another platform.
Right.
Getting resistors. Like, that's all of us. Like, that makes no sense to me.
It's basically like being on Truth Social in a way, because
it's exactly Truth Social for Democrats, right? We're not helping the Jasmine Crockett's. And like, you have to think of Twitter, and this is how it works for me. I think of it as like, someone in our group said it's ground zero, right? It is ground zero. Mm-hmm. And you kind of do have size, and it's like a big chess game, right? Like, who gets the best of who? You have an army, right? Like, you have like the K-Hive, you have this, Jasmine has her army, right? And like, when someone come and they say something to Jasmine, like, no, that's not true, boom boom, like, that's how that works. It's not doing that anywhere else.
Well,
you can't have rooms either.
All right, well, let me ask you this, because I don't really have any clips. This is mostly just going to be discussion tonight on the election and what went wrong and what we can do to fix it. And the first question I'm having, because we're just talking about Twitter to start. Mm-hmm. And Twitter is probably the most toxic of all the social media sites that you could possibly be on right now. And I truly, honestly believe that there's a good chance Donald Trump does not win if it's not for Twitter, if it's not for Elon Musk running Twitter and really dominating that outlet and that social media platform to be flooded with disinformation, right-wing disinformation, to quell a lot of the people who are on the left and to push down their interactions with people and to amplify the ones who are Trump supporters. And so I think that's probably where I have the biggest problem with Twitter, is that, and I don't want to use the word unfair because I know it's the kind of word they want to hear us use, like, oh, things aren't fair. But I mean, you're just not playing on an even playing field when you're on Twitter right now because of Elon Musk.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's all the reason why would we leave?
Well, I'm not leaving. And this is again,
Yeah, that's what I say to other people. Like, so why would we leave? Like, so why would we just be like, here, concede ground? You get it? I don't understand the defeatist attitude. That's what kills me and blows me over, because of it's like, fucking buck up. Like, literally, we're on fucking social media. I didn't knock on 3 million doors. Did you? Like, those are the people that at this point should be crying for days. Like, those people that were really out there in the field, that were really putting that fucking work in. That's not the same as, us doing the podcast, us running our mouths, us on social media. Like, so fucking buck up. Like, if these people were in the civil rights movement, we would have no movement. Like, when you run, because here's the thing, you win some, you lose some. Like, that's just how life is, and you gotta take your losses. Let MAGA fucking celebrate. If we won, what the fuck would we be doing right now?
Yeah, I mean, but would we be? And I don't know. I'm sure certainly there's going to be people that will, but are they going to be celebrating in the face of other people? And I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure there's part of you that would want to celebrate in the face of somebody. I personally wouldn't do it, especially with people I know. But I don't know. I do feel like this one is a little bit different. That's just my perspective. I feel like this is not, this isn't a regular election. This is not a regular loss. And I think that's why, and it's going to affect so many different people. And Lana had said something to me the other day that kind of, you think about it a little bit. And, I want to say this, I want to preface this first, because I get accused a lot of, just kind of pandering because you're black and I'm white and I'm trying to pander to the black woman. And that is really not what this is about.
No,
it truly isn't. But, I do pride myself, and I think anybody should pride themselves on being able to explore other people when they speak and to take it in and to say, hey, you know what? That does make sense. And I get it. You were saying that Black people have been through this their entire life. Now there are other people that are going to be affected by this that have not considered just how affected that they're going to be compared to how so many others were in the past. And I think that's why now you feel this black cloud that is following. Everybody feels like there's this black cloud that's following them because it's going to affect more. It's going to affect them personally now, instead of just something where they might say on the side, that's terrible, I'm going to fight for them and I'm going to stand up for them. But then when it really affects them directly, now it's tears, and now it's, and I'm not saying there aren't people that were not sympathetic when it was just a certain group, but, now it's the group of people that are going to be affected.
Yeah, I mean,
is more vast.
And I get it. Like, honestly, there are people in our group that have medical issues.
Yeah.
People are worried about social. I get it. But then there are people who, like, we just really have to stabilize and keep moving. Like, I don't know how to stop. Like, I don't understand the stopping, freezing, and I guess people grieve and mourn, but I don't know, nobody died, so let's keep moving. Like,
well, not yet.
That's just, well, that is true. But yeah. I mean, come on. But even so, I don't. It's either we want to be in this movement, we want to win, we want to fight, or we just kind of don't want to. Like, we can't just do it when we're winning. That's right. Not how this works. Like, we have to be able to fight when we lose, when we don't get our way. Like, we have to keep fucking moving. And it's like, just because the outcome is not what you want right now, it's not the fucking end of the world. No, we don't want that asshole in there. But hey, we did get, some senators, we got some House seats, like, we did well. And they kept making that point today, like, hey, Trump is an anomaly. We get that. But he didn't beat her by that much when you go state by state by state. He just won all of the states. Right. But it wasn't by that much. And we did better than we thought we would do with these other races. So, like, I mean, I get it. I do get it, but I don't. And if we all just stop moving and fighting, then there's no fight to give. If
I listen, Twitter, and that's inspiring. It really is inspiring, because there's like you said, there are a lot of I've seen it. There are a lot of people who are just like, I give up. I just can't. I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. And, I think initially a lot of people might have that, but at some point, you're going to have no choice but to move forward, and you're going to have no choice to fight if you want something to change. And, I don't think there's people who take into account that at some point there's going to be a reckoning with the MAGA supporters and the people who are voted into office on the Republican side. Because a couple of things, some of these Republicans that are in certain districts or governors or something like that, they're going to have to talk to their constituents, and they're going to have to answer to them. And if things are not going well, and if things are going in a manner in which we think they possibly could, that doesn't just affect you and I, that affects everybody. And that could open some cracks in the armor there. And, you do have a lot of people that voted. I'm going to get into something here in a minute, but in a little bit, But you had a lot of people who voted for Donald Trump and they voted for the Democrat on the ticket. And at some point, those people who, if they were Hispanic or Latino and they start seeing some of their family members getting deported, or you have people who are on the Affordable Care Act and they no longer have medical care and they have no plan to replace it, there's going to be a lot of pissed off people. Now, the problem is this is a multi-billion dollar machine that's going to find a way to still blame Biden and Harris for what happened to them. Now, the deportations, I don't know how you could blame that on Biden and Harris. That one, you're on your own.
Right.
If they get rid of the Affordable Care Act, I don't know how you blame a previous administration for that,
Right.
where at least the dumbest of MAGA person doesn't say, well, that one doesn't make sense.
Right. Or tariffs, right? It's like people start getting taxed.
Yep.
I don't know. Yeah.
Hello, Angel. How are you? Good to see you. Thank you for joining, as always. So there's a couple other things that's really irritated me, Lana, is that ever since something like this happens now, which again, I hope you and anybody else watching has gone to the point now where we're done with this fucking cable news. I refuse to watch one more second of this horse shit. Well, I haven't for years, but it's so bad. And now when this happens, what do they need to do? They need to do the autopsy on Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is not the dead body you need to do the autopsy on. The autopsy needs to be on the dead brains of the American people in this country that refuse, I mean, literally refuse to accept facts and logic and critical thinking, period. That's what it comes down to. It is so clear. Lana, did you hear so many people why they voted at the end, you know, when they came out? Three things. You had the economy, which not one of them who voted on the economy understands the economy, because if they did, they would have definitely said, oh, well, we're definitely going to keep this economy rolling because the economy is doing great. And anybody that's listening to this and you don't know that the economy is doing great, you know, I've explained it in a million different ways. Immigration is another thing, but the immigration thing is this mass crisis that I would love to ask anybody. All right, let's say all the immigrants are now gone. Tell me exactly now how your life changes. Because a lot of the immigration stuff was they're coming in and they're raping and killing a lot of people, which is statistically not true. And the last thing is that Kamala Harris and the Democrats care too much about woke and transgender, which is so fucking stupid and ridiculous. And I've had this argument on Twitter. I've had anybody that has said this to me. I said, that's fine. Let's go with your premise that it was all about transgender. I need you to show me one time where either Biden or Harris in 4 years said anything about running on transgender issues. I could just provide me one clip.
They didn't have to. They didn't.
That's exactly.
But they didn't speak against it. People are. I don't think it was one thing. It's just not one thing, right? Because there were different subsets of people who voted for Trump. You had his base, his MAGA, racist bunch of folks there, right? Like, then you have your, you know, Latinos who tend to be misogynist and sexist. You know, like you just had the people, you know, the black men who probably like, fuck the Dems, you know, they're not talking to me right now. They're not listening to me. So you just had this big convergence of people at the right time, right? Who wanted to just oppose. So I really don't even think that, you know, like the trans, it probably resonated, but it just gave them like an off ramp to vote for the racists. Like that was kind of what that is. You know what I mean? Like, and then Dems couldn't touch it. Like if you got them on during a football game running trans ads about like fucking sending your kids to school and whatever, that will resonate with these idiots because they literally didn't Google shit like, and Dems are afraid to touch that kind of thing because they're afraid to like offend. And we've had this conversation. Remember, we talked about this, how we felt like the squad was way to the left and like was moving things way too fast because the steadfast voters, the people right in the middle, they're progressive, but they ain't like that. They don't want it that fast. Like they want, give it to me slow. Don't just throw me over here and be like, trans can play in the sports, right? Because now they're pissed at Seth Moulton in Massachusetts for making the comment he made about, did you hear him?
Mm-mm.
So our congressman here in Massachusetts is a Democrat. But he did his own little autopsy and he said the same thing. Like, Democrats have to face certain things that they won't face. And he's like, a lot of people, and this was just one of his examples, they don't want after puberty trans, right, in sports. So he's like, I am concerned about my girls playing sports with trans after puberty, right? Like, because there are no kind of rules with that. And he's right? Like, so all of a sudden he got canceled for saying it, right? Like, even the Democrats were like trying to cancel him for saying that. And he's like, you're proving my point. We have to have a discussion about.
What do you mean it was canceled, though? I mean,
canceled? He's canceled because he said that they got pissed at him, so they didn't want to send any more interns to his office to work. Like they started canceling.
Well, look, first of all, you're right. There is no. You shouldn't bow down to a far fringe group, regardless of what side it's on. There, I 100% agree with that. But I think also too, what I think irritates me the most is that we're allowing somehow, and this is a combination of just people who are not very bright. This is a combination of a media, whether you're talking far right-wing media or you're talking the corporate mainstream media, whatever it is, did not express enough and not educate people enough that, first of all, let's explain what the quote unquote trans issue is. First of all, there is no issue because they really barely exist. And when I say that, I don't mean that they're not people, but they are people. They do exist.
Right.
But it is so minute that the chances of your daughter playing in a rec league basketball game against somebody that really isn't even old enough to have the
discussion, right? Get that there lies the problem. Because if we're allowing Republicans to create that narrative,
well, that's exactly what it's been.
That's the problem, because we won't touch certain things. I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though, is when they do that, they need to shut that shit down right off the bat and say, look, I ain't playing this fucking game with these idiots. Do you think I'm going to sit here all day and tell you that my main issue is girls playing in transgender sports? How about this? If you're asking me personally, I don't think they should be doing it. But you think for the American people that I'm going to sit around all day and talk about this being an issue as to why people need to vote on, that's how they need to start fucking approaching shit like this. Instead of just laying back and going, let's just not say anything. Let's just let, and
that's exactly, and that's kind of like how it was. It's like, we're just not going to say anything because people know better. Apparently people don't know better.
Well, again, the people, you talk about the transgender community being so minute, so are the people who are so fucking loud. But for some reason, we have to bow down to these fucking idiots, whether it's far right or far left. And that's about the kind of shit that I'm over with, because now intelligence is you're the uncoolest person in the world if you have any sort of intelligence. If you're an intelligent person now, or you do some critical thinking, or you just look at things logically, you're now a big fucking moron in this country.
Oh yeah, I swear they voted for Trump for a show, right? Like they thought the shit was funny. I also think that all the people that the Democrats got registered, they voted for Trump. Like a lot of them voted for Trump because it's like, oh, he's like we should have known we were in trouble. When people are like, nah, I don't know, they're both bad. Like no, they're not. But it goes back to what you just said too. You know, the media just did not show. Like, forget the local news. Like, they just don't show the rallies. These people just don't see any of what Trump does. Like, just zero of it. That's why, like, my main focus right now with these MAGAs is to show him performing fellatio on stage. Like, I just love it. I'm just like, yeah, this is Putin's bitch. I just put hashtag Putin's bitch. Fuck her up, right? And, like, they hate me. I don't know how many times I've been called the R word. Like, this is like all day, every day. But, like, I don't know. They don't see it. I mean, TikTok. I watched a young girl with a Trump blanket or something just dancing around. She was Latina, and I'm just like,
Did you see the Google the Google searches the days after the election? What some of the top searches were? One of them was, "Can I change my vote?" A lot of people started to do their research post-election. And when they did, it turned out they were like, oh, fuck, what did I do? Can I change my vote? And that concerns me is like, so now what? Did the media all of a sudden start saying, guys, you made a mistake. Here's what tariffs mean. Here's what this means. And people finally started to catch on. I don't know. But to me, there's so many issues. I say number one issue right now is that we have unregulated, unqualified podcasters that are talking for 3 hours a day. And these people who listen to these podcasters don't just listen to one. They listen to the top 8 of the top 15 podcasters in the country right now. And they are all far right-wing nuts. And so this is one of the biggest problems with the media. When you talk about mainstream media and you have the right-wing media is all on the same page. They don't give a fuck if they don't like each other or not. They are all on the same page, same message all the time. The other ones, they have to be too intelligent. They have to be the smart ones in the room. We got to explain why Biden shouldn't be in this right, or why Kamala Harris did this, or why the Gaza thing and this and that. And they have to, there's so many different factions and they all have to be fucking right instead of being on the same fucking message. And unfortunately, in this day and age, if the media does care, maybe they don't, maybe they love that Trump is in there because they don't necessarily like him, but boy, do they love the ratings. But the problem for them is, I truly believe people are so fucking exhausted by this cable news now. You can already see it. They've tuned out big time. And I think cable news at this point right now, you just saw one of the final nails in the coffins of corporate media. Even Fox News, Newsmax are going to be going away. It's all going to be these podcasters, unregulated people who are just going to get into the motions in the fields of people, whether it's true or not. They don't give a fuck as long as they get their way.
Yeah, I think we'll do good midterms. Like, I'm just going on because, again, I think when Trump is done as well, I think Trump's followers will be done too. I really don't think there would have been anything for us to do to stop those people from voting for that fool. Like, I don't know. How do you cut through?
Oh, I agree with that.
That's just the biggest issue when you have someone who just says anything. The moon is black. The moon is black. But like he just says anything, and they just believe anything, and he will repeat that one thing 1,000 times. So to try to combat that is the most difficult thing on the fucking planet if you too are not a liar. Because it's almost like you just have to say whatever the fuck you want to say too. And like everyone's just saying whatever the fuck they want to say. But what's going to happen is the tide is going to turn again because it has, like, it does seem like we're kind of going back and forth. You know what I mean? It's not like Americans will stick with one and then continue vote Republican, then vote Republican. That's not how this is happening. So I don't think there's a realignment. Like, I just think that people forgot what the fuck happened with the pandemic. They forgot who the fuck caused all those deaths. It's like they just forgot about that stuff and then did not equate that into inflation. Like, it's just.
But I think too that we have a brand new and Trump won both elections for two different reasons. The first one was social media and the disinformation that came out on social media, and the way they did it was
They weren't
just
voting for Hillary. They weren't going to vote for that woman. Like, they weren't.
But Lana, she still won. She still won by over 3 million votes.
I get
So,
that. Okay.
But I truly believe that, because if you look at it, she lost by less than Kamala did. If you look at the different amount of votes that she lost in each state, and I think, the James Comey thing right before the election and the social media thing that was just bombed with mis and disinformation that was confusing a lot of people that were starting to get into politics because of Donald Trump. There was a ton of people that never followed politics until a professional wrestler came in and started making it entertaining for people, which, by the way, not a good thing. I think we need to go back where there was a lot less people voting than there are more people voting, because the more people voting are not enlightened on what's going on. I don't mean to be insulting. If you take it as insulting, then that's fine. But that's just a fact. I mean, I've had this conversation a million times, and people say to me, this is what's happening. This was happening. I said, no, this is not what's happening. I show them the proof and they just don't care. It doesn't matter when you show them the actual facts. But you had social media and you had the mis and disinformation. This time, not only did you have social media, but you had probably the top social media platform that people go to outside. Actually, two: TikTok and Twitter. One was purchased by Elon Musk, who's now really the de facto president, probably. And the second one, TikTok, which was flooded with Donald Trump stuff and Republican stuff and MAGA stuff. So when you're filling the heads of people who just they don't follow the politics of it, they follow the entertainment of it. So when you follow the entertainment of it, it's easy to get people to get up and vote the entertainment part, but not the politics part. And that, unfortunately, because if every single voter just looked at the politics part of this, Donald Trump probably would not have gotten one vote. He probably wouldn't even be running.
I don't know.
Well, why? Why do you say that?
I know, because so many people sat home too.
Like, well, that is the other question. What the fuck happened there?
So that's like, I don't, again, that's what I'm saying. It has so many tentacles because we cannot take race out of this, and we cannot take sexism out of this.
You absolutely cannot.
We know that a lot of these Latino men and these Black men just were not going to do that for Kamala, and she just did not have enough time to prove herself. Like, she just didn't have, you can't do that in 4 months, right? You can't go to New Hampshire. You can't go to all these places where she still needed to go and try to connect with people, because Biden didn't do a good job at that at all. Yeah. Biden had not started talking to Black men. He did not talk to Black men.
Yeah.
He didn't. Right? So now she had to try to reconnect in 4 months. The thing about my community, because I can only speak about my community, that upsets me about the few Black men that voted for Trump, because it wasn't a large swath of Black men. It just wasn't. Let's not make it seem like it was 30%. It wasn't that many.
Right.
But like, with Kamala, it was like, what are you doing specifically for Black men, right? That is what they were asking her, holding her feet to the fire, asking her, what are you doing for us? Never once asked Donald Trump that question. Trump
Mhm.
has never had a policy specifically for the Black community. Like
Right?
none. Or the brown community. Zero. Heard Trump today talking about reparations for fucking white people.
Yep.
Like, what are we talking about right now? I put that shit right on TikTok. Like, hey, blacks for Trump. What is this?
Yeah.
This is what y'all wanted?
Yeah.
You thought Trump was going to give y'all reparations? Trump's talking about suing your ass for
Yeah.
discriminating against white people. Like, stop playing.
Wouldn't you say that the overlying factor, and it had to be more, I think it's got to be more misogyny than it's got to be racism. I mean, because obviously, I mean, if you have somebody like Barack Obama, people would. Now, let me ask you this. Does Michelle Obama win? Why? I think the difference, Lana, and let me ask you, let me tell you this and then ask you again. I think the difference is the name recognition that you had for so long. So does that make a difference? Did the name, if Kamala Harris had 4 years, does she win? You know, does it, or because like you said, she only had 4 months, but Michelle Obama has, which we all know Michelle would have never run anyway, but does she win because of the name recognition alone?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Like,
Like,
I guess it doesn't really matter.
I don't think they're going to. It's going to take a long time to have a Black woman as president.
Yeah.
It's going to take a long time to have a woman as president.
Well, that's my next question is, do you have to run a white male basically the next time?
Obama has had a talent, right? Like you just have to separate, and we have to put Trump in that too. We just do. Trump has a thing. He has that thing. Clinton has that thing. Obama has that thing. Hillary did not. Michelle Obama would not, right? Like, because it's a thing that men.
I don't know. She's kind of got a thing.
Men are different from women. We're gonna do that for Obama. Obama transcended that. He transcended like that color thing, right? He just did. You didn't really think about it. He was something bigger than all of that.
He was, for the white racist guy. He's the white racist guy that still watched basketball and listened to black music and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, you could just find a way to relate with him. It didn't matter. It's hard to get that with a Black woman. Or a woman. Like, it's a little tougher. I mean, Kamala had a hard time, and she knew it. That's why she didn't mention it. She did not mention that because she knew that would be a problem.
Well, again, but that goes back to the biggest problem of all, is that she's 1,000 times more qualified. She ran almost a flawless campaign, which was nearly perfect. I don't know how the fuck you raise as much money as you did. You completely outraised this guy. You just outperformed him big time in the debate. You did everything right, and you still could not get over 10 million people to get off the couch like they did during fucking COVID and come out and vote for you. And that, to me, is not a Kamala Harris problem. That is a electorate problem. That is a problem of the voters themselves. That is a problem of the people in this country that just are not understanding either what they are voting for or what they're not voting for. And that, to me, is a huge, huge problem. And what do you do to combat that? Because this right-wing propaganda media is just going to get stronger at this point. And it's just going to go. Now, they're also kind of a mess. And at some point, they're going to collide, and there's going to be some sort of inner war in that whole space, because you saw it last time. This time it's going to be even worse, because you're with the craziest of the crazy now that are all involved in this whole thing. So, in fact, there's already reports that Elon Musk is already sort of overstaying his welcome. He's like at Mar-a-Lago every day. They're calling him the thing that wouldn't leave.
Yeah. I agree. I think that Josh Shapiro should have run. Angel says
let me catch up with the Angels. Trying to hang on. Hugs Solana. Did you read the Daily Mail in the UK? Anderson, Caitlin, and one other from CNN are getting fired. Is that true?
I don't know.
Caitlin Collins and Anderson Cooper are getting fired from CNN. Trump could be toast before the midterms. Wendy B. How are you, Wendy B? Thank you for joining. She is a new listener, I think. And if you're listening on any other platform, by the way, the only now is that that's showing that she's that they're on X.
Oh, interesting.
That is interesting. Are you guys commenting from watching on Twitter or on the YouTube channel? Because I can't see it if you're watching on Facebook or if you're watching on what's the other one? Instagram. I can't see any of the comments. If anybody comments, the governor of Pennsylvania should have been running, Josh Shapiro. I think that's the name that's going to be floating around. But somebody had a good point. Who was? I can't remember who said it, but they said, back in 2000 when George W. Bush won against John Kerry, they said not one person had mentioned Barack Obama as the next president of the United States. So it could be anybody that comes out of nowhere.
It could be, but we all want.
Thank you, Angel.
Yeah. We want Josh Shapiro. We think he should have been the VP pick.
You know what, though? I'm not going to ask that question. If he's the VP pick, does she win? Because I'm kind of done with all that dumb shit. Because first of all, none of it matters at this point.
Oh, of course not.
This woman ran a perfect fucking campaign, so there should be no blame on her. I don't want to hear any fucking blame on Joe Biden that he didn't drop out. Well, that's another question. Does Joe Biden win if he stays in?
No way. Oh no, he was not winning. He was losing everything. No, if we thought that these people didn't come to vote, how many millions of people do you think they would have gotten up for Joe Biden? They weren't, because they weren't.
Did you see the difference of Latino men that switched from Joe Biden to Donald Trump? It was like over 20 points.
You're talking about 4 years ago. Like, that was a whole different situation. That was a referendum against Trump. That wasn't for Biden in 2020. That was against Trump. Trump had been the president. He fucked up. Their nanas were dying in COVID, and everyone got to vote from home. That Biden was there at the right time. Biden wasn't getting donations. Remember that? Like, that shit was drying up. It was not a good sign. I don't think Joe Biden would have won. Like,
well,
no way.
You may be right. I guess it's kind of hard to determine, what. But here's the thing. Part of the thing is that the Democrats, it was so hard to get the message across that the economy was doing well, that everything was on the uptick, when there was so much shit thrown at people from the right-wing propaganda media that was almost, and Joe Biden is probably the last person to be able to swim through that shit.
He wasn't going to be able to get any message out. And like I said, he didn't talk to Black men or Latino. He wasn't talking to any men. He wasn't going in. He wasn't going to be able to travel. How she was crisscrossing that globe, he was not going to be able
to. You could just feel, you saw that he had a comfortability, especially with Black women. That's one, that was, he just was very comfortable, doing that. But he, again, we can make all the jokes we want to. Biden just didn't have a comfortable time talking anyway, but, at the same time, as I said, if people just looked at the politics of this, it would have been a landslide. It would have been no problem whether it was Biden. Biden would have probably never would have had to have dropped out. If people the entire time go, I understand politics, I understand what is happening in this country. Oh, we fucked up in the debate. I don't really give a fuck. It doesn't matter to me because this debate's worthless. I'm looking at the facts of what happened here. Lana, I want to share this. We talked about, you want to see something really frustrating. I don't know if you saw this or not, but Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was on there saying, hey, if you voted for me and you voted for Donald Trump, can you give me some ideas as to why? Did you see that? Okay.
Yeah, I heard what the people were saying.
Let's see what the people were saying. Why you voted for her and you voted for Donald Trump. These are the quotes that she got. She goes, I know people that did this and it was because of Gaza. Voted for Trump and you, not genocide Harris. Dems need Bernie. But also you signified change. Trump signified change. I said lately, Trump sounds more like you. She was more for rights than the economy. And when she talked about it, she didn't have a plan. You are focused on the real issues people care about, similar to Trump populism in some ways. I'll read just a couple more. I support you and did this. Felt like I didn't have a choice after Biden administration. The response you got make me want to barf. That I feel. And finally, loved ones say you're both straightforward and challenging corruption and broken government. So it comes down a lot to sort of this populism sort of idea that Bernie Sanders brought, that there are so many people on the far right and the far left that have this same connection, for the same people, but they're two completely different ideologies. That is some psychological shit that I need somebody to genuinely explain to me to where I can get it and where I can understand it. Do you have any clue? Anything you could decipher?
No, because
Because
nothing.
you said a lot of smart shit already tonight.
Nothing they said made any sense. It's like Trump and AOC, like, because y'all say the same stuff, like, shut the fuck up. Like, it's like, I can't even listen to people. Like, this electorate was all over the map. They didn't know what they wanted to believe. They didn't know what they wanted to complain about. All they knew is that they wanted a change. That's all they knew. And Trump is entertaining. Like that's all I can give you, because that's how I feel.
A change from what, though? That's the thing.
That from their hallucinations, because
Right.
they think that the economy is so bad and it's so friggin' crazy, because wait until you have to pay those your deferment's gonna be done, right?
Yeah.
You're not paying anything for your college loans now because you're on deferment. Those are going to be done. What do you think is going to happen to like your prescription costs when Trump comes into office? Hey, what about those medical bills that Biden and Harris said we're not going to put on your credit?
Yep.
Now they're going on your credit. Like,
oh, those student loans are coming back too.
Exactly. Like, what did y'all thought it was a game, especially the young people? Like, I felt like they really felt like it was the cool thing to do. He's trending, so let's vote for him. And it's like, now, you saw the Latino guy talk about he's not going to deport the family people, the people who are good people and family people. It's like,
Well, I have one clip. So Tom Homan is the director. What he was just named? And you know what?
Immigration czar, is that the guy?
Yes, that's what it is. Yes, he is the border czar, is what it is. And I had my damn list and I forgot to bring it of the people, and I can remember some of them anyway. But Tom Homan was on 60 Minutes recently, and he had this to say about the status of immigrants and how this is going to go down. And the interviewer brings up the cost as well.
We have seen one estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
Yeah, there you go. So, and that you could play that clip to somebody that may be worried about that or not worried about it, and they voted for Trump, and they'll be like, it's not going to happen anyway. First of all, let's say it doesn't. Why would you want to take at least any chance that your family could get deported out of the United States, whether they're going to keep you together, whether they're not going to keep you together? Why would you do that? The second thing is, that's another thing too that's going to be big on the economy that people don't understand. If it costs $88 billion for 1 million people a year, that means you're taking out 1 million people that are now no longer paying taxes in this country.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish she would have pushed back when he says, what's the price on national security? Well, we have to statistically look at how much crime the illegal immigrants are causing in this country. And it is more than half less than the people that are born here in this country. So that's just terminology that they use to scare people. And this is why people went and fucking voted based on bullshit and lies and things that are not true. Sure. Are you going to be able to pull out Laken Riley? Sure you will. But I've asked this question a million times. Okay, you gave me Laken Riley. Give me another one. They can't. The only reason why you can give one of those names is because it's an antidote. It doesn't happen a bunch. So you're able to name that one. If I were to ask Lana if she can give me names of people in history that have been unjustly murdered by police in the Black community, this show would go on for hours. So, don't fucking give me this Laken Riley as the reason why we need to deport these people. Now, this does not mean that I am saying that there is no issue with immigration. There's been issue with immigration in this country for decades, and there's not been one president, including your little hero, Donald Trump, who had the Senate and the House when he first took over. He did nothing to stop the border crossings. In fact, they doubled from 2017 to 18. And from 18 to 19, they doubled again. So Donald Trump didn't do shit about the border, but you guys are going to run to the polls and vote for a guy because you're scared to death of the one story that you heard about Laken Riley, or you're scared about the 3 stories you heard about the girls playing sports.
No, they're not. That's not. He has successfully, again, made immigrants the other, right? So it's not just that. It's the immigrants are eating your pet.
Right.
Them being the other, right? It's them being a rapist. They're going to rape the white women and your white children. Like, that is the thing that Donald Trump does. And, when we talk about this last election, we have to keep bringing race into this because he ran a race and hate. Like, that's just what Trump did. Trump is a white nationalist. We can't get away from that. That is a fact. Those are going to be his policies. Those are the people that he is putting in the White House are white nationalists. So how can we elect a white nationalist but not talk about race like that didn't matter in these elections when it had to, right? There's not just people that didn't live in border states were afraid of immigration, that didn't even live in border states, because it's the other.
No, I mean that's like I said, you're right. It's like I said, it's just it's super frustrating, and I think you and I, we've had this conversation. It's kind of a conversation that we've seen a lot with people on our side. I think a lot of people on the right, these MAGA people, they're so jacked up and they're so excited that they expected to see everybody crying. And I know you've experienced some crying, but I think the consensus and a lot of people are kind of laying back and laughing, going, you know what? You're about to get something that you did not expect. You're going to get what you deserve. Here's the thing, is that we're looking out the window and we see the airplane coming towards the building. You fuckers are in the break room laughing it up. Yeah. Doesn't matter. I know it's when that plane hits, it's going to get all of us, but you have no idea this fucking plane's coming. We do.
Yeah. I mean, what the fuck? His whole administration's a fucking joke. It's like Kristi Noem, the fucking pet. She's the pet killer. She's
unbelievable.
The Homeland Security. Like,
yeah, let me pull, because I have the list, Lana. I'm going to pull up the list of some of his cabinet members who he has named so far.
Everybody who sat that shit out because of Gaza. Whoa, did you hear Marco Rubio today?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Gaza. Like,
listen, Lana, I hope they keep up that protesting energy, because fuck them too. I don't want to hear one word from these people, because it's not going to be pretty. Let's see. So far, Stephen Miller as the deputy chief of staff. If you don't know who Stephen Miller is, look him up. He's a beauty.
America is for Americans only. That's Stephen Miller.
Say that again.
America is for Americans only.
Right,
That's
that is
Stephen Miller.
correct. That's Stephen Miller, and there are a ton of more quotes from him that are dangerously crazy.
Yep.
The New York Congressman Lee Zeldin, who lost to Hochul in New York for governor, he's the environmental protection agent. He's in charge of the EPA. Matt Waltz is the national security advisor. We also had Susie Wiles is going to be the chief of staff. She was actually somebody here in Florida that was pretty prominent in here. In fact, she got into it big time with Ron DeSantis. So it's going to be interesting to see that. Elise Stefanik, who ran against our friend in New York, she is the ambassador to the UN. That was Nikki Haley's old job. We talked about Tom Homan, the border czar, the U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee. And there's some.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, John Ratcliffe is going to be the director of Central Intelligence. He's going to be the CIA director. So there's quite a.
You mean Tim Scott didn't get a job in the cabinet?
No, Tim Scott he is up for the Senate Majority Leader, which is something that has to be voted on through the Senate. So it's between him, John Cronin, and there's one more John. If anybody knows in the comments, let me know. John Cronin and three. But it seems like the full MAGAsphere is big on Tim Scott. Vivek Ramaswamy.
He's not going to be in the cabinet. Like he thought he was going to work in the White House.
Who?
Tim Scott thought he was going to work in the White House.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Rick Scott. You said Tim Scott.
Tim
yeah.
Scott.
Yeah,
like
Tim Scott.
Tim Scott, Byron Donalds, or whatever.
They will find. They might find something for him, but no, I'm sorry. I was talking about Tim Scott being the
Rick Scott.
Yeah, Rick Scott. I keep saying Tim. Rick Scott. Thank you for the correction. But how about the message that he put on True Social, basically telling Nikki Haley and Mike Pompeo that they could go fuck themselves, and that was basically to them saying, "Look, you messed with us.
Yeah.
This is exactly what happens. I don't care that you got on board later. You got on board later.
Yeah.
Too bad."
Yeah.
So going to be interesting. Lana, the other thing that's going to be interesting is now that we officially need to look out for is this Project 2025, which they had said forever that this really has nothing to do with us. Yep. Trump denounces, or doesn't even know what it is. But if you see a lot of people in the MAGAsphere, they're laughing, going, let's face it, Project 2025 actually was the plan. There's already some people in his administration that were contributors to Project 2025. So I'd like to remind the people who voted for Donald Trump what could be coming your way with Project 2025, so you can embrace and enjoy everything on here. So you're going to eliminate the Department of Education, which has been something that they've been wanting to do for a very long time, because they really don't want people to be smart, and they also want to control what your kids are learning or not learning. And Lana can explain that a little bit more. Use public funds to pay for private religious schools, encourage Christian indoctrination through public schools. I know some of this may be exciting for people watching this. It's not exciting for me at all. Dismantle civil rights and DEI protections in all levels of government. Eliminate no-fault divorce. Great, ladies. You're the guy that's beating you up in your marriages. There's no. We're going to eliminate the no-fault divorces.
Yep.
Total ban on abortions, regardless of visibility or health of the mother. Viability. Ban all contraceptives. Ban African American and gender studies in all levels of education. Tax cuts for major corporations and 1%, while increasing taxes on the rest. Eliminating unions and all worker protections, which Joe Biden did a phenomenal job fighting for. Eliminating all climate protections. I'm glad I do not have children, and that those children are not going to have children. Encourages Arctic drilling, since the ice caps are melting. Eliminating regulations of big business and oil. raise the retirement age,
Yep.
eliminate Social Security for the elderly. We talked about that earlier.
Yep.
Promotes capital punishment and the speedy finality of such sentences. Condemns single mothers while encouraging a traditional family. I'm not even sure what that means, but that sounds
Exactly.
super dangerous.
Yep.
Only recognize traditional families. Dismantling the FBI and Homeland Security. That is extremely dangerous. Use of military to break up protests, and those are going to be the protests of the ones they don't agree with. Eliminating Head Start, banning books, forcing immigrants to be deported, banning Muslims, dismantles the FDA, EPA, and pack the Supreme Court with extreme far-right judges. How's that sound, Lana?
This is
And that's
what
part
y'all
of it.
wanted.
Yep.
This is what y'all wanted.
By the way, you know what else is not in there, Lana?
Told you.
The you know the little dorks who listen to Joe Rogan all day and all these like
Yeah.
Andrew Tates and all this, who sit on video games all day and yell out racial stuff at the people they're talking
Yeah.
to on headsets that they don't know who they're talking to. And they want to ban these violent video games and also want to ban
Hilarious.
porn. So
yeah.
let's see what happens to these
Yeah.
dudes when when that happens, and they make everybody basically go to their weird Christian churches every day.
I mean, it's just wild. They want to track women's periods.
Yep.
They want to stop you from traveling out of state for medical care. It's just,
Well, they're protecting they're protecting your women,
yeah.
men.
Yeah.
Hey guys, they're protecting your women
Yeah.
because apparently you can't.
Exactly. Donald Trump can.
Yep.
Mm.
I don't know. All right. Well,
Ah, gosh. Anyway, we'll be all right.
so the future, I know we talk midterms, we talk about all that. We got a while to go. Do you have any concerns at all that they have an administration that's going to be so extreme that it will make it very difficult in some way or another to win elections? Is that possible?
I don't know. I mean, he's going to try. I don't know how much he's going to be able to accomplish by the time midterms come. I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be, that'll be interesting. I mean, we do have, because again, there are a lot of states that won.
Exactly.
Even Donald Trump winning. They won a lot of they won Democratic Supreme Courts, governorships, all secretaries of state, all kinds of different things. Now, that does beg the question, and I know a lot of people have brought this up. I got to admit, there was a part of me that even got a little bit like, that does sound a little fishy, but,
Right.
if you back yourself up a little bit, I mean, you got to realize, first of all, we're not the 2020 conspiracy theorists that the election was stolen.
It is going around, though.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up, and I got to admit that when I first heard it, I was like, that sounds a little weird that basically every Democrat in North Carolina won, but Donald Trump beat Kamala Harris in North Carolina. That kind of didn't make sense. But there is a phenomenon in a lot of elections that I don't think people even realize this, Lana. People, when they get their ballot, because they're so used to filling out bubbles in school, they think it's a test and that you have to fill out every answer. You could literally just walk in there, vote for president, and put your thing in there and don't vote for another thing. And apparently in North Carolina and a lot of states, that happened a lot where they just voted for president and didn't vote anything else down ballot.
Right. Could be. But
which allowed Democrats to win really a lot of these.
Right. I mean, I heard women think that they were protecting women's rights, but then still voting for Trump.
No sense at all. None. Absolutely none. Here in Florida, the abortion measure did not win.
Right.
It fell short of the 60%, which again is ridiculous. I don't understand how we are in a democracy when you have this electoral college and you have something that says 60% of the state. Why? That's not a democracy.
And they got 57. Like, that's wild.
Right.
Like, 57 is a lot, and it still wasn't enough.
Yeah. And I guarantee you those dumbasses who voted for Donald Trump, but voted for the passing of marijuana, that didn't pass here in this state either.
That's
Just
wild.
it is just unbelievable. And most of the other states that I saw, it's just basically if you vote for yes on it and it wins, it wins. Here in Florida, you got to do a 60% threshold, and that's just crazy. But Angel says, my big question for you too, why don't they at least do a recount? So I think we just kind of touched on this, is that I truly believe, and Lana, whatever you think too, I truly believe if the Harris camp and the Democrats saw something that was off and didn't make sense, that they would. I truly do believe that maybe even they heard some of the rumblings and said,
Right.
let's look into this, and looked into it, and there's nothing there.
Yeah, that's what I've been telling our members. It's like, they're getting pissed at Biden. They're getting pissed at Kamala. Like, I can't believe they're just going to concede. And it's like, we always say, you don't know what's happening in the background, right? Like, these are career politicians. They're not idiots, right? Like, they're doing things that we don't know what's happening. And like you said, they are in the background, and even if they thought some ballots didn't get counted, they're probably doing the math to say she fucking didn't win anyway. Like, she's still not going to make it, so it doesn't make any sense. Also, where it really has to make sense. Like, she really has to have a case for all of this, because it's going to go to the Supreme Court.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
like, you're not just going to go there with some fucking nonsense.
Well, like they did in 2020.
Exactly.
They went to
Be
60
like,
different courts
yeah,
to just give the idea that there was something nefarious going on.
Exactly.
And every single judge said, what are you doing here? And most of the attorneys for Trump said, I don't even really know why I'm here. I was just told to come here and make it look like something happened in this last election. And clearly it didn't. And nothing happened in this last election.
No.
The bottom line is that Kamala Harris lost. Donald Trump won, for whatever reason you want to believe. I know why I believe it. Lana has her reasons, and I know we align on a lot of those reasons as well. And it seems like a lot of people who are coming to terms with this election have the same reasons as to why they lost. And, they have to figure out what they're going to do to combat this, because really at the end of the day, it's going to come down to them having to get out more. Right. And really be forceful with their message, and not just be like, hey, they're going around and letting everybody know that all we care about is transgenders, and we're letting immigrants in, and they're all getting in here for free, and they're in 5-star hotels, and we're just giving them money to be here while they're leaving us behind. There are literally multi-millions of Americans who truly believe that that's happening when there's zero cases of that really happening. There are some cases where you have some immigrants that are coming in and they do put them up. There are some temporary protected immigrants that are coming from places that are so awful and so terrible that you can't just pack them up and send them back to where they
don't even,
like Haiti.
And we don't even talk about asylum seekers, right? Like, they just lump every immigrant and act like every immigrant is here illegally.
Correct.
That's not the case. And what's also not the case is that they're only going to touch people here illegally, because that's not true. Because Stephen Miller has a whole plan to freaking denaturalize people.
Yep.
Like, he's trying to take more people. He said America is for Americans first. And his eyes, that only includes white Americans. Like, come on.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh my God. Like, he literally had a Nazi rally. Why are we acting like that shit didn't happen? But
it's like I said, we are living in a time now where nothing literally matters, Lana.
Yeah.
Nothing matters. It doesn't even matter. And that's what I said. I mean, at this point, they've got to find a way to just dumb it down. They need to go on Joe Rogan and the Nelk brothers or whatever the fuck these people are. Just go on these podcasts and chill with them and talk politics. And if they bring up, hey, why are you guys so interested in trans people? And the answer could clearly be, it's not that we're doing is we're saying there are human beings that live in our country, and we just think that people shouldn't be treated badly. That's all it really comes down to. We're not trying to give anybody more rights than anybody else. That's not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to make this a nicer place to live in. That's all. What about men? Colin Allred, actually, in one of his ads, he even said in one of his ads, hey, I don't agree with boys playing in girls' sports either. And listen, if you're asking me personally, I don't think they should be either. But again, if we're going to take this issue and act like it is something like a main top 3 to top 5 issue that we need to be voting on, when you can name maybe 8 places in the country where it's happening, then if you want me to, I'll fly to that whatever city it is, and I will go with you and say, hey, I don't think this is right. But I am not going to vote my future. I'm not going to vote women's future and people of color and people of the LGBTQ community and all these other people. I'm not going to vote my future because of these one-off things that are happening. It's just so insane to me that this many people are voting that way. It is just insane. Right. Well, anything else to add?
No.
People looked up their votes and votes weren't counted. I have seen many copies of it.
I mean, they're still curing votes too.
Yeah, that's true too.
To change anything, but they are curing votes. They said they are.
Yeah, Angel, listen, I'm with you. There would be nothing more than I would love to just somebody go, hey, we found out that Elon Musk got Starlink and got inside the voting machines and changed votes. But here's the difference between, I think, us and the people who screamed that the last one was stolen, is that we actually need to see proof. We need to know that it actually happened rather than just say it happened because our daddy or our mommy told us that it was stolen, and that you are so bitter and angry that you lost the last election that you are that willing to go through the most ridiculous lie that you could possibly go through. I'm not willing to do that unless I saw some real evidence that something like this happened. And so far, all signs point to absolutely zero evidence of anything like that happen. The only evidence that I see is that we had a new group of voters who voted for Donald Trump and maybe even some of the Democrats. And it was based on, again, lies and mis and disinformation. And we had a lot of people who stayed home for some bizarre reason. We had a lot of people in the Latin community switch their vote from Biden to Trump. And, it is what it is. And so we move forward and we'll, like Kalana said, life goes on. And we're going to be going to weddings and we're going to be going to parties and doing all that stuff. And, to sit around and, act like life is completely over. Now, I honestly, Lana, my biggest fear outside of, like I said, just for if I have a personal internal fear, I'm scared to death about the economy. I really am. I'm freaked out about what can happen with our business personally. Because again, we already had to swim through a very long river of this COVID recovery to finally start to get back to a place where we could start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And now everything that I'm reading is that, well, you thought rates were going down, don't expect them to go down anytime soon. And I'm freaking out. So that freaks me out. I can't say that, but I hope it's wrong. I have also said a lot of times, don't always listen to just what the media is saying because they don't know. Maybe that changes. We'll see. But that does freak me out too from a personal level.
Yeah. It's not over until it's over. I'm not going to worry about something that has not happened yet. So, once the economy goes to shit, then I guess I'll worry. But I'm just not going to stress and worry about shit that has not happened yet. One worry at a time.
Right. I will say, one thing I will admit, before I realized it was like a big bro sort of like I did it before all these like MAGA people and Trump and all them got involved. I do have 2 Bitcoin, so and that's exploded lately.
Wow.
That was from a long time ago though. So I was just like, I just held on to it. So we'll see.
Wow. I don't know anything about it, so I don't.
Well, apparently it's a big MAGA thing, and now that they are in charge,
They
like
can have it.
Bitcoin's a huge thing for them. And I don't know. I guess if whatever, I don't.
Sounds like another grift that he's gonna.
It is. I've started to realize that it kind of is, and it freaks me out. So there is a time to get out of it, for sure. So yeah, I have subscribed to that because the more I looked into it, the more it freaked me out a little bit. It's kind of like, this seems a little pyramid scheme-ish. But
Yeah.
well, like I said, luckily I bought it a long time ago. So, but anyway, Lonnie, you got anything else you want to wrap up with?
No, just keep fighting, man. Let's go.
Keep fighting, man.
We got to start. We got to pull ourselves up, like Jay-Z said, dust the dirt off your shoulders, and let's keep it moving.
That's what we got to do. No question about it. Well, speaking of moving, Lana, will the Quest show be back post
Thursday?
Woo! All right. Well, then you get to hear Lana's perspective without me interrupting her by herself on Thursday on the Quest show. By the way, real quick, I did put a link. I forgot to mention this. I put a link to a show below. If you don't watch David Pakman, I think, is one of the best out there right now in independent media. And he did do a whole piece on these younger men who voted for Trump and why they voted for Trump. And it was really, really good. So I put that down in the comment section, or not, what do you call that? The info section or whatever below. Whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, whatever. The description.
Oh.
Yeah, the description of the show. I put it in there. So thank you, Angel, for joining us. I also want to thank Wendy B. Thank you, Wendy B, for coming in, and anybody that watched on either Facebook or Instagram or anywhere else.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
We're going to get through this, guys. It's
100%. We'll battle through. But anyway, I would thank you guys for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the show. Watch the Quest show on Thursday night, 8:00. And then we'll see you back here on next Tuesday. I might come on again later on the week.
Of course you will. He loves it. He loves it here.
I love it. I actually do love it too when the MAGA people start coming into the comments. That's when I really get jacked up. I love it.
Yeah.
So, all right.
That's all.
We'll see you guys next time. Thanks, Lana. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Good
Bye.
night.
Good
Bye.
night.